Evolution of Paddington Bear. Paddington makes his debut appearance as a titular protagonist in the first stop-motion TV adaptation, based on the Paddington Bear books with the same name, narrated by Michael Hordern. In the series, he appears as a stop-motion animated puppet, who is an accident-prone but well-meaning bear from darkest Peru, wearing a blue duffel coat and black hat, as well as carrying a suitcase. Although initially, he was found to be wearing a luggage label around his neck with the words, "Please look after this bear, thank you." He was named Paddington Brown by the Brown's family, who adopted him after they found him at Paddington Station, as his Peruvian name was difficult to pronounce. He is known for his fondness for marmalade sandwiches and always keeping one under his hat for emergencies. He is also very kind, optimistic, friendly, and polite, never addressing someone by their first name but always by their title, Mr., Mrs., etc. Paddington reappears in the second TV show, Paddington Bear, as one of the main characters, voiced by Charlie Adler. The show follows Paddington's adventures with his adoptive family, the Browns, in London, along with their visiting American relative. Here, his appearance is changed insofar as now he's animated instead of being a real toy bear, and his hat's color is changed to red. One of his most eventful adventures is shown in the episode Paddington Meets the Queen, where because of his fascination with Buckingham Palace, the Brown family takes Paddington to the Royal Mews, where he gets into a royal coach and meets Queen Elizabeth II, but then gets arrested at the Tower of London and has to escape in order to make it back in time for sandwiches with the Queen. Next, Paddington appears in the following TV show of the franchise The Adventures of Paddington Bear, voiced by Jonathan Kidd. The show follows the original story of Paddington and also additionally depicts his background of coming from his home in Peru to England. After his home in Peru is destroyed by an earthquake, he sails to London, where he meets his new family, the Browns, and goes through many different adventures with them, as well as travels around the world with his friend Mr. Gruber. Throughout the story, he is again shown to be attempting to do things the right way, but because of his clumsiness, he often ends up in sticky situations. He is also often shown writing back and sharing his adventures with his Aunt Lucy back at home. In the 2009 official BBC Children in Need medley, Paddington makes several cameos, now being changed back to a stop-motion animation with a plushy toy with a black hat, but also gold sunglasses and carrying a guitar case. At first appearing and winking at the cameramen as they take photos of him in the beginning, then when he is shown performing on stage, Big Chris tries to put a cloak on him, which keeps sliding off, after which, at the end, he joins the rest of the group for the final singing act. Paddington makes his next appearance in the 2014 first franchise movie with the same name, in the main role, voiced by Ben Whishaw. Here, he differs in having a realistic bear look with the same outfit as before. At the beginning of the movie, Paddington is shown living in a treehouse in the forests of darkest Peru with Aunt Lucy and Uncle Pastuzo, who had adopted him as their nephew and were very close, as well as loved marmalade just like him. Together they regularly listened to the recordings on the rules of behavior in London that British explorer Montgomery Clyde had left to Lucy and Pastuzo before they met Paddington, together with his red hat. They dreamed that one day they would all be able to visit the city together. However, on the night of Marmalade Day, an earthquake started and resulted in the death of Paddington's uncle, after which Aunt Lucy encouraged Paddington to travel by ship to London to be safe and gave him the neck label and the explorer's red hat. After arriving in London, Paddington meets the kind Brown family, who offer him to live temporarily in their home and also name him after the station they found him in. Also, they gave him his famous blue duffel coat, and even though he often got in trouble because of his clumsiness, they were still helping him in his search for the very British explorer who had known his uncle and aunt. In the course of his search, he found out that the explorer had died but had a daughter, Millicent, but contrary to her father, she wasn't kind or empathetic and instead wanted to stuff Paddington as an exotic animal and put him in the museum. At the end, the Brown family came to his rescue and allowed Paddington to stay in their house permanently, with Millicent ending up being arrested, after which Paddington wrote to Aunt Lucy, saying he is happy and has finally found a home. In the second 2017 franchise movie, Paddington 2, which features Paddington, voiced again by Ben Whishaw, a flashback revealed his story of meeting his Aunt Lucy and Uncle Pastuzo when he was a young orphan bear cub struggling in the river. They rescued him and adopted him as their own. After the events of the first movie, living with the Browns family for several years, he became well known in the city and welcomed by all the citizens. When the time for his Aunt Lucy's 100th birthday came near, he wanted to give her a gift, which was a one-of-a-kind pop-up book of London in Samuel Gruber's antique shop, but since it cost a lot of money, he needed to work several jobs and save his wages. However, one night, he witnessed a burglary at the shop in which the book was stolen and tried to chase after the thief, who escaped, after which Paddington got framed, arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Because of Paddington's influence and him revealing his marmalade sandwich recipe, the prison becomes a much livelier and friendlier place, although Paddington himself struggled to remain positive because the Browns were unable to prove his innocence. Shortly after, he joined some of the prisoners in a prison escape and then contacted and reunited with the Browns family at the Paddington station, where they all grouped together and stopped the thief. However, for a short time Paddington fell into a coma, but then woke up on Lucy's birthday to find himself at home, after which he learned that he has been exonerated, the thief has been arrested, and the book has been taken by the police as evidence of the crime. Because of this, he felt disappointed since he couldn't give Lucy the book, so out of their warm feelings and gratitude towards Paddington, to correct the situation, the Browns and their neighbors arranged for Lucy to visit London herself. As a result, at the end, at their front door, Paddington hugs Lucy and wishes her a happy birthday. Paddington reappears in the next animated TV show, The Adventures of Paddington, reprising his original role but being much younger and reanimated to being less realistic, voiced by Ben Whishaw. In the show, in addition to replaying his original role, he also often writes to his Aunt Lucy about the other exciting new things he discovers. As shown in the episode Paddington and the Magic Trick, he writes to his aunt that in addition to the magic word she told him about, which was please, he learned a new magic word, abracadabra, from Mr. Gruber, who also taught him how to do various magical tricks. Or, in the episode Paddington Learns the Violin, where he tried to learn to play the violin but then realized that it wasn't his best affinity, though he still considered it to be a beautiful instrument. Next, Paddington is featured in the comedy segment at the opening of the 2022 Platinum Party at the Palace, where he joins Queen Elizabeth II for tea and marmalade sandwiches at Buckingham Palace, and she reveals to Paddington that she too always keeps a marmalade sandwich for emergencies in her handbag, before they tap their teacups to the beat of We Will Rock You, prior to the official performance of the song. In the third 2024 movie in the franchise, Paddington in Peru, Paddington again reprises his main role, being voiced by Ben Whishaw. In the story, after Paddington receives a letter from the Home for Retired Bears in Peru, which says that Aunt Lucy deeply misses him and is acting strangely, he gets his British passport and together with the Browns family, decides to travel to Peru and visit her. Upon their arrival, they learn that Lucy has inexplicably disappeared, after which they all embark on a journey through the dangerous and unpredictable jungles of Peru to find her as well as discover the secrets of his past.